So we have a mid-90s mid-90s Chevy truck, 1500. It's got the Vortec engine. It's a no start. Had a fuel leak at the manifold here. The metal line wasn't secured and it was leaking fuel. But I used starting fluid to try and start it, and it just sputtered and it really didn't run. It was better than it was, but it wasn't idling, so I knew something else had to be going on. So this hold down plate that holds the fuel lines in the manifold for the Vortec injectors in the intake, this was on backwards, so the fuel lines are leaking pretty bad. It's got 58 psi when you crank it, so it's enough fuel pressure. Don't know if it's contaminated, but looking at the wires here, the spark plug wires are correct on the driver's side bank, but I'm looking at this, and I don't know if you can see that, but this is a C up here for ignition coil, and that one is going to cylinder 2, passenger side front cylinder. So we have mixed wires here as well. So I had a language barrier issue with the customer. Didn't really speak English that well. And it seemed like he had hooked up to the data link connector and checked for codes before I arrived. But I should have checked for codes step 1. But he had the hood open and I smelled fuel, and so I got sidetracked. But if I would have checked for codes first, I would have realized that the PCM wasn't powered up, because what you'll see in a minute as the cause. But it's really easy to get sidetracked when talking to a customer. At this point, I pulled the fuel pump relay, swapped it with the AC clutch relay, still nothing, no fuel pressure change. So at this point, I checked power and ground at the terminals with the relay out, and everything's correct except for one of the terminals, and that's coming from the engine computer to turn on the fuel pump relay. And so at this point, I'm verified that I cycled the key off to on. It should come on for a few seconds, and prime, cranked it, nothing, no power on the 85 terminal. So it's not the relay. I bypass the fuel pump relay with the jumper right there. Fuel pressure goes up. So now I need to focus on why I don't have power. Now I hooked up the scan tool, I couldn't communicate, but you see right here, ECM 1 fuse and the other ECM fuse next to it, they're both yellow 20 amps. Should be 3 down, and they're in the wrong spot. So the two 20 amp fuses, they had power on both sides, but they're getting power, but there's no terminal on the outlet side of those fuses in the block, the fuse box. So he must have pulled them out and put both fuses in the wrong spot, just checking fuses. Not the first time I've seen this. Customers start messing with the vehicle and they create a lot of issues. Once I switched the fuses to the correct spot, one below, for both ECM fuse slots, it actually started communicating, the vehicle fired up, and it was okay. Right here, I turn the key on, you see a surface engine soon light. That wasn't happening before, which is a good indicator that your engine computer is not communicating, or you got a bulb burnout in the cluster. But in the end, the customer created, I think, about 4 different issues by them trying to fix it. So they broke the PCV hose. On this vehicle, it's really a big deal because it's a mass airflow vehicle. The other thing they did was hook up the wires wrong at the distributor cap. Then they moved 2 fuses up one, which were causing, good fuses. They seemed fine. At a quick glance, they seem like they're in the right spot. If you looked at the cover indicating where fuses were supposed to be at. But so that's another thing they caused. And then the dome lamp fuse was blown because I checked all the fuses, and I put a new fuse in there and his dome lamp started working. And I did all that stuff, and then the vehicle started up. Now, he put a fuel pump in himself. I don't know what brand. I'm not going to stand behind his fuel pump repair, but I got the vehicle running, and it was far from running. It had so many issues. Oh, and the fuel leak. So I feel like that was a pretty good example of why we charge more sometimes to work on vehicles that someone else has messed with, especially a customer, because that could have easily turned into a whole bunch of parts being thrown at it for a rookie technician. And I even made a rookie mistake in not checking for codes first, so it's real easy for anybody to do it.